Minnesota's former governor is calling on people to boycott this year's state fair for prohibiting marijuana use at the venue while at the same time allowing attendees to consume alcohol and tobacco, even though the state enacted a cannabis legalization law last year. But while Jesse Ventura is fired up about the fair's policy, he's also optimistic about the prospects of federal marijuana reform under the Harris-Walz administration. In an interview with Marijuana Moment on Thursday, Ventura said he does hope that Vice President Kamala Harris, those are typos.
Oh boy.
Harris, the 2024 Democratic nominee, and her running mate, current Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, advocate for an end to federal cannabis prohibition on the campaign trail, saying it would be smart for them to do so given the popularity of the issue. If they would come out and say they would lift the federal ban on cannabis marijuana, I think that it would help ensure their victory, he said. There's a tremendous amount of cannabis users out there who would vote accordingly so that they would not feel federally like they're still criminals in any way, shape, or form. During her time in the Senate, Harris sponsored a comprehensive marijuana legalization bill, and she called for a major reform as recently as March during a roundtable with presidential pardon recipients. Walz signed cannabis legalization into law in Minnesota last year, and he invited Ventura, a longstanding champion of reform, to attend the signing ceremony. Despite Minnesota enacting legalization, however, Ventura said the state fair is not allowing cannabis use, even as it makes accommodations for tobacco use in specific areas and will have alcohol available for purchase on-site at beer gardens and other vendors. It's supposed to be legal in the state of Minnesota. How can they outlaw it at this state fair when they allow tobacco and alcohol? And my point being is this: all we ask is in the cannabis world is to treat us fairly. Treat us fairly. Treat us the same as you do tobacco and alcohol. And unfortunately, that's not happening. We're being discriminated against, even though it is now legal. All cannabis smokers ought to boycott the state fair, Ventura, a former wrestler and actor, said. Don't go there until we're given equal rights and we're treated equally to tobacco and alcohol. A spokesman for the Minnesota State Fair confirmed in an email to Marijuana Moment that smoking and vaping of cannabis is prohibited on the Minnesota State Fairgrounds during the 2024 event. This policy is in accordance with the Minnesota law that prohibits the use and possession of cannabis in a location where the smoke, aerosol, or vapor of a cannabis product could be inhaled by a minor, the email said. The sale of products containing THC and CBD is not permitted at the 2024 Minnesota State Fair. In a separate interview, Ventura said you can go over there, get smashed on alcohol, go on a ride, throw up on everybody else because you've been drinking. They have 18 designated smoking places for tobacco, and yet they have banned cannabis. While not all states that have legalized cannabis allow the product to be consumed or purchased at their respective state fairs, California made history this year with both marijuana sales and on-site consumption being permitted for the first time. In New York, on-site cannabis use and sales were allowed at the state fair in 2021 after adult use legalization was enacted. However, the fair stopped permitting public consumption at last year's event, though attendees could buy marijuana products from nearly a dozen local growers at a cannabis farmers market held in conjunction with the event. Outside of state policy, Ventura also shared his perspective on national cannabis politics as the November election with Marijuana Moment. As to the November election with Marijuana Moment, for example, when asked about former President Donald Trump, the 2024 Republican nominee, the former governor said, "You can't trust his comments on the issue, including his recent signaling that he'd be inclined to back marijuana decriminalization as more states enact legalization. You got to look at what he does, and Donald Trump is out for Donald Trump," Ventura said. If he thinks that supporting marijuana will help him get elected, he'll temporarily support it until he gets elected, and when he's elected, he'll probably ignore it. It'd be a very different story under Walz as vice president, Ventura said. You can trust him. He's a man of integrity, and if Governor Walz says they're going to lift the federal prohibition unless Kamala Harris vetoes him, which I don't think she would, it'll happen. That's the kind of person he is. A Democratic senator sponsoring bipartisan cannabis banking legislation separately told Marijuana this week that he believes if she's elected president this November, she'll be ready to sign marijuana reform bills into law. So there's a few more things in this article that I'm going to just gloss over, but let me just kick this off before I hand over this article and the topics I've covered to my fellow pundits here on the news today. So I love Jesse Ventura. I think he's very entertaining. I used to consume all the TV that he created. And I think this is the most ridiculous grandstanding for a Monday morning. California legalized adult use cannabis in 2016, and it wasn't until 2024 that they had consumption at their state fair. So if Minnesota legalizes cannabis last year, and already this blowhard is suggesting you boycott the state fair because they haven't initiated a consumption area, but they have alcohol and tobacco, which has been legal for many, many years, I think it really, really calls into question his judgment and whether he's just grandstanding. Don't boycott your state fair. Go to your state fair, spend a lot of money, enjoy the funnel cake, win a little clown, give it to your friend. Whatever you do, the notion that reserving and withholding your dollars to not support a state fair because in 1 year they haven't stood up a consumption lounge without understanding the complexity and cost associated with that, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Love you, Jesse, but this one you're out of touch. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
I don't know, Yarrow. I think they're a little out of touch up there. They should definitely have a consumption area, at least even for beverages, as much as the state is hyping up beverages. You know what I'm saying?
Jason, will you attend if they get you a beverage and I THC and seltzer?
I mean, maybe.
I'll lend you one of my phone books if you want to take a ride there.
I mean, I don't need a phone. I don't need a phone book. I don't need a booster seat. None of that type of stuff, Yarrow. But
I'm the tallest person on the show right now. Holy shit, you guys!
That's kind of funny.
I mean, what do you think, Matthew? We got 2024, and they're still enforcing against cannabis consumption at Burning Man, and Jesse is concerned about a state fair in a state that's only been legal for a year?
He should be. Jesse should be.
I appreciate him advocating towards consumption lounges. I think that's what he's trying to do, is just trying to push him along the way. So I'm with Jesse on this one.
Oh, are you?
See, look at that.
I really wish he would have ran for president, bro. I really do. I would have voted for him.
That would have been good too. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
I know. I think it'll happen eventually. Hopefully, I think Yarrow's just mad, one, that he can't go Judge Harper there. And, I think you just give it some time. Licensing, they probably don't even have event licensing shirt up. An event license on that scale, this is a large production. It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of permits they don't even have available yet. So just calm down a little bit, Mr. Body the Ventura.
I feel like even if they didn't have a designated consumption area, they should just have a don't ask, don't tell, or don't ask, don't smell policy in the smoking area.
Don't ask, don't smell.
Yeah, don't ask, don't smell policy in the smoking area, and then just allow people to just be smoking in the smoking area.
That's the motto for Jason's love life.
Yeah.
Don't ask, don't smell.
Whoa.